I used to be a huge comparer, like like a lot of us are, but I have now stopped thinking about comparison entirely.
Out.
I
Understand the opportunity with props and try to think out there, forward thinking, what does that transition look like coming to a live account where you're not trying to work within all of these different rules, you're freed up, how will you be able to function in a live account coming from trading that prop account? So
And then the other thing that I did was totally change my charts over to looking at points rather than profit. And that's been, I think, amazing. So
you hear it from everyone, this career, it feels when you're in it, it feels like this is like the only career that you just have to eat shit and take and like do it until you get better. And like no advice from anyone is just gonna like click. And now I'm just never gonna do it again. It's like you literally got to do it and just learn for yourself.
And so I just thought, the 7 pro accounts and then trailing drawdown, I'll figure it out, no problem, right? That didn't go well. Okay, now 9, I can do 9 of them. Why not? Let's make it even better. And I switched strategies, but I wasn't being consistent. And I think goes back to what Zach says, like in having a larger sample size. I wasn't being consistent in waiting for that sample size. So I kind of threw to the wayside what's been working for me and what got me a payout. Tried a different route, got too eager, was expecting it to happen overnight.
And then if you apply inconsistency to the market, you're going to have inconsistent results. If you at least apply some consistency, you stand a chance to see what's working, what's not working, because you can go back, review, and then adjust a little bit more of what's working, a little bit less of what's not.
This is Behind the Charts podcast, where real traders have real conversation.
Cool. Episode 13 of the pod. We are back. I'm calling in from San Francisco today. We got a awesome guest, Zach Boyajian, in the house. We all got to meet in Tampa, ended up having a pretty great time at the boot camp down there, and really just came off as just a down-to-earth dude, Like that's what we need more in the trading space, is just down-to-earth people who share their real experiences, because I cannot imagine the number of people that, end up quitting in year 1 or year 2 because, they hear interviews that make it sound great or something like this, and, not enough real down-to-earth conversation. So with that all being said, thanks for being here, Zach. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, man, absolutely. Psyched to be here. Appreciate you guys having me on. And I try to come off that way, man. I really just, I'm always like happy to be the realist and just say, hey, I'm not the best trader in the world. I definitely do not have it all figured out. No magic on this side. And just like you said, like, I think so many traders, myself included, get sold on this like insane dream, right? You're going to make it happen in a couple months or maybe even a year. And you don't have to answer to a boss. You work for yourself. You make all this money and it's just Rolexes and Lambos. And I think like that could be great for, for some motivation, but having realistic expectations coming into it, like, hey, this is a long road and it's not all, Rolexes and rainbows and unicorns, it's tough. It's a long road and there is no one magic answer to this game outside of just grit and hard work. So yeah, absolutely.
How's well, we're recording this on the 31st, so the end of July. How's your month been?
Not bad, man. Not bad. Digging some of the top 1 futures accounts that I started the straight to funded pros out of drawdown. So that's been going well. Pretty green month overall. I got a payout processing with those guys right now, and I've got a live account that I've been working on, own personal cash account. That's been
cool,
fun.
Dude.
Yeah. Kick that back up. I came from trading live accounts with Forex and way earlier on before I came over to futures, and then I've been on this prop firm journey for a long period of time, which has been really fun. But it's been nice this year to load up personal cash account with futures, and it's kind of just been going through really platforms, just kind of testing different platforms, and somehow I ended up back on TradingView. But it's been going good, man. Been going good.
So do you talk about it in the streams? Because Zach live streams every day on YouTube for free, and are you kind of doing like do you advertise that at all, or is that kind of under the table?
No, I kind of do keep that one off stream just because I like to focus on what I'm streaming every single day, which is the same prop accounts that I'm trading day in and day out. I do trade live every single day. And I've been heavily focused. I'll talk more about it, I think, as I kind of go further with it. But I've been heavily focused on the prop journey and just kind of showing my journey with really with Top One Futures now, trading 2 different sets of accounts and kind of how that progresses along. And I've been doing a little bit of pre-market stuff here and there, just kind of mixing it up. But yeah, that's where the focus has been for live, day in and day out.
So we've had like a big conversation. We've talked about personal capital versus prop firms, and like it's an ongoing conversation. Do you find, like, how different do you find them? Do you find a big difference?
So I think like on the psychology side, it can be kind of different. I think I'm a little bit unique because I came from trading like larger size Forex live accounts, even though I shouldn't have. That was my intro. I had no business with the size of accounts that I was trading, but I really got comfortable, and that's where I started to gain some consistency. Then I came over to props, and now I'm kind of going back to the live cash accounts for futures, right? Day trading, right? Because I still have the investment brokerages and all that fun stuff. But yeah, I think like when you look at not having to deal with rules, not having to deal with maybe an intraday trailing drawdown or any consistency rules, they can be really, really solid, like really stress-free in that respect. You can just trade the way that you want to trade because it's your broker's margin requirements. There's really no rules outside of being able to fund the account. But then I think it can be stressful because there's a whole lot more money on the line, or there can be a whole lot more money on the line. And because the only max loss limit is the entire account getting blown, that can be a lot different, mindset and psychology kind of weighing on you versus just a prop account maybe that you invested a couple $100 into. But I think, it comes down to like my thought process on it. It comes down to your capital allocation, right? Kind of how well funded you are, and then also your experience, right? I wish somebody grabbed me by the shirt really early on and went, dude, just stop with the live account, knock it off, like way too much risk on the line. Come over to props, make your mistakes over here, lose money over here to get started, right? Limit your downside risk. Yeah. And then also, if you really do need to leverage outside capital, props can be a fantastic option. But I think it's a good opportunity to go both routes. I think as more traders progress, the longer down the line they go, I think that personal capital can be a really, really solid thing to look at really early on, or if money is kind of tight for funding, I think it can be tough. But different for everybody.
I think that's the struggle, and that reason we had this conversation. It's continually always talking about it is playing a game versus playing with real money, and now. Whether we're good traders or not, are you handling those trades in a live account differently than a prop? Because now you don't have profit targets, consistency rules. Are you content with taking $100 out of the market where, you're trying to make 200 in the prop account? So I think we wonder if you trade live, are you, pulling the triggers, in and out of the trade sooner, not holding on, not trying to hit these rules that were, when we're confined to the rules of the game of prop.
Yeah, it's definitely a little bit different where all that stuff kind of just goes by the wayside. So you're really freed up to trade however you want to trade. And like you said, there is no profit target, right? There is no daily loss limit. There is no minimum trading days to pay out. You make or lose money right then and there, right? It's right there. So I think the goal eventually in prop, because I think for the most part, most traders will say they trade prop firms, myself included, a little bit differently, probably more aggressively than you would with a $2,000 live account, right? Or a $4,500 live account if we're trading a $150K prop firm account. But when it comes down to the trading style and approach, I think as you progress with prop firms, it's a good idea to keep that in mind. Like, is this scalable for a live account? Will this work well? And is this what I want to be doing in, a 5 or 6 figure live account, right? With my own personal, capital. If it's not at all, and we're doing something in the sim environment, super aggressive or leveraging, just the ability to hit the reset button and finding a way to payouts that way, it's probably not really sustainable. So I think, it's not to say like, oh, the live account is the end all be all and props are not a fantastic option. I think they are. I trade them every day. But I would encourage traders, I think, as they progress, especially, and even as they're starting out, understand the opportunity with props and try to think out there, forward thinking, what does that transition look like coming to a live account? where you're not trying to work within all of these different rules. You're freed up. How will you be able to function in a live account coming from trading that prop account? So yeah, it's interesting. I think props are not a drawback in that sense, but I do think it's important that traders are reminded, like, hey, the goal is going to be either to be kicked to a live account from the prop firm itself and now be trading one single live account with just a larger, wider, loss limit and no consistency rule, right? Ability to really scale up, and or your own personal account. So, essentially, don't get stuck playing the sim game, if you can.
It's a really good thought. Yeah.
Well, let's just go around the horn. Christine, how was your month? And what's the one big takeaway? The one big takeaway from the month.
I am red this month again. Shocker. I still have not made a payout for anyone that's, keeping track. But there was actually some really great things that happened this month. I was able to really bring down my entries. Like last month, I was trading multiple entries, and this month I've traded one single entry. Whether or not it was like maybe that wasn't the best version of the entry, but I traded one strategy per se. And then the other thing that I did was totally change my charts over to looking at points rather than profit. And that's been, I think, amazing. So even though I'm a red month, but I have not blown my accounts, I've been trading the same straight to funded 3 accounts. I still have them. I still have drawdown left. They are not blown. Traded them the whole entire month. And those are the 2 biggest things that I've gotten out of it. So, I mean, overall, it's a really positive month, even though money-wise, like there's no money in my bank account that shows positive growth, but it was still really good.
I feel like we should dive into that a little bit, because I too am like, dang, like I didn't make a payout this month and I didn't, do this or do that. Like everything for me, like is always tied to like a monetary expectation.
Yes.
And I don't know if that's just because that's how I was grown, if that's because that's just human nature or what it is, but we will put like a negative cloud over progress because there wasn't a profit.
Yeah.
And it's like this is what feels like it's holding me back. Like when I get this way with myself, I like lose energy, I lose the desire to trade, and I will I'll just kind of like almost put myself in a rut and just out of being like frustrated with my progress. And I had a call with James like 2 or 3 days ago, and we're talking about it. He's like, dude, you barely even started. Like you barely even started trading. And that is like what always just takes so much time for me to wrap around my head and really understand is like the game is so long, and it's if you get zoomed in at the beginning, you're just gonna quit and you're just gonna like get in this like rut. And like, Zach, have you experienced this? Like how, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. I'd say, we all look, first off, Christine, great job, right? You're holding on to accounts, you're making progress in that way. It's so hard, especially early on. And I did the same thing that you're describing, Thomas, like you beat yourself up. You go a month and you're like, well, I didn't take payouts from all of my accounts, or I didn't pass a bunch of combines, or I didn't, have this really, clear sense of progress, right? But I did do all of these other things. I followed my rules. I was able to journal every day. I've made measurable progress and improvement in, some metric that I'm tracking, being able to increase win rate a little bit, or your risk to reward, or really hold on to trades, for example, small adjustment in like trade management. And it's so hard as traders to really hold on to that. But I think, yeah, starting out, it's very, very difficult. And just like you said, talking to James, being reminded that it is a long game we're playing. And then even as you go further, really trying to focus on the process, right? Like this is Tanner's whole spiel from Tampa, the strong trader. But I love that. And having goals for yourself day in and day out and for the month that aren't just 100% P&L related, because we're going to have up and down days, weeks, and months. Like I'm going to have red months this year for sure. Already had them. If every time one of those comes around, I throw everything out the window, I blame myself, everything's horrible, everything gets jacked up. Mindset gets jacked up. Your execution is all over the place. Meanwhile, maybe the market just wasn't agreeing with you. This is your natural losing streak. You had some negative variance, and you can adjust, you can review a little bit, but you got to stay consistent to make it through to that next nice green month. So for me, I think having check marks for myself day in and day out to say, did I wait for my setup to come, right? Was I patient and either had a no trade day, or I took multiple trades, but I waited for my setup to show up in the market? Did I manage my trades appropriately? Did I hold all the way to take profit or stop loss, whatever the way that the trader is managing the trades? And these types of things. Did I execute the way that I was supposed to execute? Because the market's real random on the short term, and our results can be very, very inconsistent on the short term. But if we apply that consistency day in and day out, we can start to grab onto that longer term consistency. So it's a really difficult paradox that we operate in. And I think it's great to review. You got to look at your week, you got to look at your month, right? And to a degree, you got to look if we're making or losing money, right? But it's really important to have this series of trades, like the Mark Douglas type of mindset, series of trades, larger sample size review of what's going well, what's not going well, and think in that long-term perspective. Hard to do, man. Easier said than done, for sure.
I'm reading that book right now. Thomas is reading it too, the Trading Psychology by Yumi something. Thomas will probably
Yumi
have
Sakura.
It's beside my bed, but Lawrence got us onto this book, and I'm starting to really grasp this whole thing, like the law of large numbers, or like how you're saying, you can flip a coin and it's 50-50. Well, in 10 flips, you can have 8 heads and 2 tails, but if you did it 1,000 times, you'll get closer to that number. So it's like we get so caught up in 30 days. And, today somebody actually on stream, who was it? Scott Gorman was 14 days green and 3 days or 4 days red. He's like, I've had an all right month. And we're like, that is freaking amazing.
Oh man, I'd go for it.
People get in their heads because they see a couple red days, or that they have 25 a 75% win rate when they boil down to the numbers, and that's amazing, right? So it's like you got to really start to scale back and look at when you're in a rat.
Sorry, Randy.
No.
It's like how do you because this is like the very up there. How do you not blame yourself? Because for when you do something good, we want to take the credit for it. But then also when we do something bad, I think naturally a lot of people do take the credit for it, but you're not supposed to take the credit for it. It's like, how could you acknowledge your trading results without taking credit for it? Maybe we can all go around and share something.
Yeah, I'll jump in on that one. I think it really comes down to defining what is good trading day in and day out for you, right? And it comes back to not just that P&L, because like you said, we all want to take credit for a green P&L, but I could have pulled something horrible to get a green P&L, right? I could have been down 3,000, almost hit a max loss limit, blow all my accounts, YOLO it, and then come out nice and green, right? So and I'm sure we've all been there, but that's bad. Like that over time is going to have a really negative expectancy. We're going to lose accounts. So I think it comes down to really redefining what you're supposed to be doing day in and day out, and create that, did I trade well today? Regardless if I'm on my second or third day of losses. And it's hard. You got to kind of disconnect from that P&L number, that just being green, creating, this euphoria and that I'm a great trader, I got it all figured out. And then the second part of that is what we're talking about, the randomness of the market on the short term. It is so hard to wrap your head around. I think honestly, the longer I go, that's probably one of the single most difficult pieces in trading, outside of emotional awareness and self-regulation, the really coming to terms with, I don't know what's going to happen next. Everything looks perfect on this trade. I waited. My stop is where it's supposed to be. My take profit is where it's supposed to be. I don't know what's going to happen on this trade or the next one or the next one. I can have a rough idea of what's going to happen maybe in the next 50 trade sample size. But on the short term, just like that coin flip, right? I used to keep I don't have one on my desk right now. I used to keep a quarter sitting on my desk for that reason, because I love the example. Grab a quarter, you could flip it multiple times. You don't know if it's going to come up heads or tails, and you don't know if you're going to get a string of 5 heads or 5 tails, right? Does it mean the quarter's broken or you did something wrong flipping it? No. It's a 50-50 shot of coming up heads or tails, but we don't know what that series of flips is going to look like. We're never going to know that positive or negative variance on the next series of trades. So I think experience in the market can teach you that, but reading those books, reflecting on it, really trying to understand the game of probabilities that we're playing and how these probabilities play out in front of us. But man, it's difficult. I think when you come to review and look at what's going well and not well, and for me, like I could give an example from this month, not to ramble on too much here, guys, but I could give it. This could be my what went well or poorly this month as well. I can give an example from this month. I started, or last month rather, I started trading these straight to funded pro accounts with Top One. It's my first time trading anything with an intraday trailing drawdown at all. First round. And in order to try to work with that, I really adjusted my trade management. And what I was doing was I was dragging stops into profit. And you can see it in my live streams. They all stay up there. I was dragging stop losses into profit really aggressively. Randy, you were on for some of these. And that worked out pretty well at the start. But what I noticed was over a large sample size of trades, I was generating a really positive win rate. I was winning a lot of trades, but they were small. And what happened was I would take a full L. If I entered and the trade moved against me, I wouldn't touch it. Yeah. So like, you know, how do I adjust for that? Do I look at one trade or one day? No, I look at a couple weeks of this happening, and all of a sudden the P&L looks nice. It's climbing, and now I've got sharp drop-offs, and I'm not creating a negative expectancy because a positive expectancy trading here because I tightened up and my win rate and risk to reward isn't looking good. So now I adjust back, and then I look at a large sample size, right? I don't touch stop loss and take profit for a whole lot longer. My example, the trade from today, $500 risk on the table. I waited. I could have dragged into profit and maybe gotten clipped for $100 or $200, but I accept that some trades are going to come all the way back on me to stop loss in the hunt of that larger profit. I let the trade run to a $680 some odd dollar profit. So large sample size, large review, and finding, you know, not what's happening on any one single trade, but over a decent sample size of trades and saying, hey, this isn't working. Let me review all of my trades. I'm noticing that I'm stopping myself out and many of them are continuing into profit. And that's just an example. Like that's not going to be for everybody, but there's probably something there. Trade management's always a really good example to look at and review. So large sample size of trades, dealing with the paradox of the randomness on the short term. You know, this stuff is difficult to do, but I think that's where a lot of traders can start to make some progress, or at least where I found I've made progress.
Yeah, it's like putting emphasis on the math instead of, you know, yourself. And what about you, Christine? How are you finding acknowledgement with both the positives and the negatives?
I'm still working on that one, I think, because I'm still spending a lot of time trying to figure out management style and how I want to be trading. So it still is something I'm working on. Like you were talking about earlier, Thomas, and hopefully this is still in line with what you were asking, but you were saying, you know, you get, like you have a move forward, but it's not a big move forward. So you kind of feel like a disappointment in it. And I felt that today. Like I had a trade today. I think it was, Randy? It was like, I think it was like $174. And afterwards, I almost felt like, like kind of down because it didn't get me back into the green. It wasn't $600, you know, it was just like, and I noticed that and I was like, oh, that's kind of like, that's backwards thinking, right? I should be actually very happy. Like not happy. I know we want to be neutral at all times, but just a little bit more like chill. I shouldn't feel like that at least. So I think I'm still working on that. But I really like actually, Zach, what you say about like, and I know trust me, I've heard it all before. Focus on the process. I've heard it for sure. I like how you said checklist because it honestly makes me feel like I just need to go into my DRC and like do a checklist and check off those things every day. I have to make sure though that if I don't check a one off, I'm not going to like beat myself up about it.
Yeah.
Because we're never going to be perfect, right? Ever.
Yeah.
So I really like that idea.
Yeah. No, I think it's creating a way to say, I had a good day. I did everything I was supposed to do today with a red P&L and still be okay. Right. Yeah. And it's hard to do that, But if you can create some things like a small checklist, but also be patient with yourself, right? We're human. We're not going to be 100% every day, probably any day. So, you know, there's the balance there for sure.
Well,
But
even for Christine today, you came to the desk, you did your job, you stayed patient, you took what you could from the market, whether it's $175 or $6,075. You came to do a job and you did it, right? So not attaching yourself to that physical, kind of like Zach was saying, like how we just get so caught up looking at the dollar signs. Just remind yourself, I had a job to do. I did my job correctly, and you had a great trade.
Yeah.
It was great. You trailed your stop. It came back, stopped you out. You took 8 or 9 points out of a trade on a day where 90% of the people were getting smoked if they didn't catch that first move. And everybody
wasn't that going to hit your stop loss? Wasn't that trade going to hit your stop loss if you didn't trail it?
Oh, when it came back on her.
This would have, yes, because I made money long today. If you look at the markets on July, 31st, there's not a lot of long.
It sold off. Yeah,
there was only one long, and
there was one long. Yeah,
and you were patient and you waited for it. We're on stream this morning, and Christine caught the long, and it was textbook, like it was perfect. So again, I think it's just like, and I'm so easy in this business, and this whole where we are is so easy to give advice. I give advice all day long, and I do not take it. Hillary says one of my biggest problems is that I just don't. She can't even give me constructive criticism sometimes, and she's my number one fan, right? So if I don't listen to her sometimes, it's I can see how it's so easy to give it, but it's like, Christine, just listening to you, and I was just like, you came and did your job. You did exactly what you needed to do, you nailed it. And it's an sizing wise, you're not happy with that, then maybe it's, down the road, obviously you'll size up later on, right? And trade either more accounts or trade with more size, however it works out. But yeah, being hard on yourself is, I'm my own worst, like we're all our own worst enemy. It's so easy to beat ourselves up.
Yeah. On that point, sorry, not to interrupt anyone, but talking about being able to like give advice, and like we all work together, and like I'm sure you see it, Zach, all the time. Like I trade with Randy, I can literally write out his tilting behavior, what it looks like when it starts, how it happens, how it ends. Like I know his tilting behavior like the back of my hand. I couldn't do that for myself, which is like a little messed up. But I think that's kind of what Randy's saying, is like we're so easy to outwardly put this advice on people, but it's sometimes so hard to follow ourselves.
100%. I do the same thing. I watch guys and girls trade, and I could see it from a mile away. I'm like, oh, here it comes, bro. Cut it off. That should be the last one. Yeah. You look at your own trading. You look at you're like, all right, let me look at yesterday. I was 3 trades deep past where I should have stopped. So
just one more.
Yeah. No, it's tough. That's the self-awareness part. But no, back to what we were talking about. I 100% agree. I think in this time of trading and prop firms, especially, we see so much on social media. We see so many people winning all the time, all these nothing but green P&Ls. So trying to stay grounded and be happy with whatever the market has for us, or the progress that we're making. Just like Randy said, you did what you're supposed to do. You took a nice trade. You're up, over $100 or whatever it is, a few points. That P&L number can be whatever we want it to be. We all know that, right? We could all scale up, nearly indefinitely. Not indefinitely, but we could all scale up and size up. And it's just wherever we're at, progress, experience-wise, we got to try to stay grounded. So I would definitely caution anyone listening against comparing yourself to others, looking at other people's results. Like that's the comparison of the thief of joy. That is 100%. Because I used to be there for a long time. I'd hop on social media, be on, not to sound like that, but hop on Instagram and all, it's just straight $10,000 day, $50,000 day. I'm over here scraping, trying to make $50 or, just a little bit in a live account. And I'm like, this sucks. And the next thing you know, you're like, okay, I could do that. Time to size up. I made a little bit of progress, and here comes I'm raising the stakes way too early on. So
to add to that quickly, just to add to what Zach was saying, so these pro accounts that we're trading, Austin decided, I convinced Austin, or not convinced, anyways, I got Austin to trade some of these pro accounts. So he decided to make a bet with me. Let's see who gets to a payout first on these copy traded. He's doing 5, I'm doing 9. And right away into the bet, it came to a point where I was more concerned on the outcome of Austin's trades. And it actually it made me upset. Like here I am being almost like envy, like I'm like focusing on someone else and seeing how, and not even watching my trade. So I said, Austin, no more bets off. And he's like, okay, fine. So what does Austin do? He has a bad day, blows his accounts. I don't know what happened the next day. What did I do? I blew my accounts.
And
it was just
like Eskimo bros.
Yeah.
It was just the weirdest thing, but it's like we put these things in we got enough shit going on up here already. You know, throwing stuff like that, this is where we just gamify the game even more, which makes it harder and harder and harder, right? I don't know how you tell yourself, like, how do you tell yourself, like, Christine, how do you tell yourself that $143 you made, even though it's sim money towards a goal, it's still something. Like, I think that's why we're talking about trading personal capital, because now she physically made $143.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, not only is it like, forget about like the sim money, forget about that. It's like you took the trade and you were able to trail your stop following your rules and have a winning trade on a losing idea. That to me is the win. That is the win. Forget the P&L.
Yeah.
But I thought, Zach, you laid out the whole like jealousy thing in comparison very well. And like, I will now die on this hill because I have not been on social media the last, like, I don't know what it is now, 40 days or something. Like,
really?
I haven't seen a single piece of short form content. I haven't done none of that. I go on YouTube still, but like, but that's it. No shorts, like nothing like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to be a huge comparer, like like a lot of us are, but I have now stopped thinking about comparison entirely. I only ever see P&L from the Black Shirt Club, and I don't really even look at it. And when I do, you feel something inside or whatever, but then you like just shut that off. And especially since Lawrence's episode, if nobody's listened to Lawrence's episode, is really good. And I've had a totally different mindset since that, when he talked about you have to accept that this is your career and that you're going to be here for a while. And that's also the same thing every other trader who's ever done it says. And, it was just something about talking to him that really resonated with me. And just the combination of like pushing out my time horizon goals, and like I'll be turning 24 in September. I put so much pressure on myself. Like, you didn't make enough money between 23 and 24. Even though I did make more money, I didn't, make enough money. And then, it's the end of the year coming up. I wanted to make 10,000. I want to make 20,000. Oh, I didn't make it. And I've like kind of just relinquished those expectations. And that, combined with no social media, for me has been like I'm like living in like a blissful, like mental state. And like, it was like kind of hard to do it at the beginning. I was really bored and shit like that. But then after a few days, it just kind of went away. So anyone who's, struggling with these kind of things that we're talking about, like that, this might be the difficult choice to do. Like, you might feel out of it. Like, I don't know anything that's going on in the news anymore, but like, it's fine. I don't really care. I'm smiling. I'm happy. Who cares?
Actually, I've been thinking about this a lot lately, about new traders, like even our new, like a couple years in, and in the prop firm world and what we see online, and talking about comparing. And I even thought about this for myself I'm pretty vocal that I haven't made a payout or anything, but when I post a P&L and it's a green box on my X account, a person looking at that, unless they go deeper into my account or listen to me talk on the podcast, they just see a plus sign with a dollar amount, a green box. They don't know in their subconscious, or maybe they don't know at all, that that's in a sim account. And until I make a payout on that account, that's not actual money. So everyone online comparing themselves to other people, a lot of the times they're comparing themselves to people that aren't actually even making money. Like, these are fake dollars. And I honestly, like, I almost feel it's my mission to like yell at people. I'm like, this is a fake dollar amount. Show me your bank account. Like, and I'm going to change how I post it now too. Actually, I've just decided I'm not going to do that as much anymore. I want to show my process a lot more. And if I followed that versus the fake dollar amounts that I made that day. But I just think that's really hard, because we see those numbers and we compare it, like for example, and I'll use Nick Jocelyn, I think he wouldn't mind me bringing him up, but he trades like 50 to 60 accounts. So when he shares his P&Ls, he adds all those accounts, and it's like one day it was like $85,000. But at the end of the day, it doesn't mean he just got a payout of $85,000. It means that his sim money accounts moved up $85,000. And that's not actually related to the money in his bank account. But we hear the $85,000, we automatically compare to ourselves not making $85,000. And it's like this vicious cycle, except it's not based on anything real. It's all based on fake numbers. But one thing I like about you, Zach, is you've always been super transparent. Like, I do feel like you are very honest in how you talk. So I feel like this is a good conversation because not everyone's like that. And I just think like it'd be great if they're either educate yourself as a consumer of online media to know that these are not real numbers, or more of us online creators need to talk about that.
Yeah, no, I definitely feel the same. Like, I've really backed off posting much of those P&L numbers at all. I shouldn't say that because I did post P&L today on an IG story, so I'll check myself. But I try to be really open and honest about it. And what I really like to do is just live trade nonstop and let it stay up. You see the account that I'm in, and I mean real live trading, not hiding behind a trading view or anything like that. And then just watch that play out over time. Because just like you said, if you just post a screenshot every day, or you're just looking at somebody's screenshot, you have no idea what that is. You don't know how many accounts went into that were blown before that one. Same thing even with payouts. So I'm a big fan of live trading, and just the expectations in line. Like, so much of it is not real. It's copy traded. It's a ton of combines, or it's a ton of funded accounts that never make it to a payout. And then even going farther, even if it is somebody in a big live account, oftentimes we're comparing against people that have on the high end that are maybe making money, that have been maybe doing it for twice or three times or five times as long as we've been doing it, right? So I always compare, like, if you were starting out, like, playing like JV basketball or something, would you be looking at like the professional basketball players on the weekend and being pissed off that, your stats are nowhere near that stat? You're like, well, I've been playing basketball for 3 years. I can't even compete at all with them. I'm like, like, look at what's going on here, right? Like, we got guys, that do share a bit, that are like decades into this game, 10 or 15 years, right? And we're comparing against them. Also, everybody comes from a different spot capital wise, right? You don't know if someone's trading props, like, they might be coming from a much humbler spot where, they're spending a couple $100 here and there on some prop accounts. Meanwhile, the dude posting 1,000 green P&Ls, he's 30K deep in evals and funded accounts so far. And sure, he's taking big payouts, but there's a whole lot more going into it. Same thing in a live account, right? If you're turning, 1% on $1,000, it looks a whole lot less than 1% on $500,000. So there's so many different levels within this. So I think the best thing you could do is back to what you guys are saying. Be cautious of what you post and the expectations that you take into consideration, but try not to compare yourself at all. Keep expectations low and look at your own situation, right? What are your goals? What is the amount of money? Because at the end of the day, it does take money to make money. And how long have you been here so far, right? We a couple years in, you can't expect something that, is this infinite money glitch that we're all trying to unlock for a long period of time to happen in a couple years. It's just, it's just not there.
Well, even firsthand on comparing, like, and I keep telling this story is, that there's a guy in Apex that took like over a $2 million payout. And I was like, me and Thomas actually talked about this, and we're like, what the hell are we doing, man? Like, why can't we take 2 million out of Apex? Like, what? Like, we're good traders. We know what we're doing. And lo and behold, in Tampa, we find out from I
know where this one's going.
The guy spent $300,000 to get that 2 million.
I think it was 400,000.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, still, this is obviously he blew not 20 accounts, thousands and thousands and thousands of attempts to get this. And here we are. I'm comparing myself. And so now even I lost my 9 accounts, but on my, as I tell this story on Instagram, on my posts, it's $1,500 that I put into these accounts. I was trying to turn it to 22,500. And now this has been my single biggest loss, like, investing into these accounts and losing them all at once. My single biggest loss yet, but I'm still probably, $10,000-$15,000 into prop firms in the last, 2 years almost, right? So
Yeah, no, exactly. It's that you never know what's going on behind the scenes, and usually the large numbers, they have large numbers put behind them, So it's just like you talked about, you're one pack of 9 accounts for $1,500 in. This dude's 400, 400, whatever the number is, $100,000 in. You're like, how am I not making $2 million? What are we doing wrong? I'd kill for half that. Okay, look at what half of what he put in would be. So yeah, it's tough, man. This day and age is really tough. We only see the end results. We have no idea what's going into it, and I think that's why it's so important. I try. I really, if I could do anything, I'll be more like cynical and so much less on the motivational side, because you could see, I will. You could see so much. We all know what's on the other side of this, right? We all know the upside potential, but it is really damaging to be in that spot, right? To be you and Thomas and have that day where you hear that and you're like, it's honestly, I'm years in, right? And I heard that because I saw it was the Mambier payout from. I'm like, damn, bro, like what am I doing wrong? Like $2.5 million, like on a payout, like what? Wow, bro, like I got to step it up. So but that's damaging. That's not helpful. It has no value to us. We are all usually, if you've been in here for, if you make it a year, I think you have a lot of grit and determination. And if you last longer than that, you probably have no problem being hungry for it, right? The comparison thing, it leads down a dark road, really dark road. So yeah, I'd do everything you can to not do that.
Yeah. We'll bring it all full circle. Randy, how's your month? What's the biggest takeaway for you?
We don't got enough time in the day to talk about my month. It's been, what is it? Yeah, it's the biggest takeaway for me is I think I just got to kind of get back to that flow state. I was eager with these so one thing that has been a real issue for me this whole trading journey is, copy trading and just being too eager. Being able to do 5 accounts, 10 accounts, 20 accounts, 40, 50, and then Nick's doing 60 accounts, right? But he's obviously been doing it well. And so I just thought, the 7 pro accounts and then trailing drawdown, I'll figure it out, no problem, right? That didn't go well. Okay, now 9, I can do 9 of them. Why not? Let's make it even better. And I switched strategies, but I wasn't being consistent. And I think this goes back to what Zach says, like in having a larger sample size. I wasn't being consistent in waiting for that sample size. So I kind of threw to the wayside what's been working for me and what got me a payout. Tried a different route, got too eager, was expecting it to happen overnight. And then as I looked at the calendar as the month went on, it looked beautiful, green, 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 and then one red. But then when you look at the red and zoom in, it was the whole week is wiped out and some. And so I was basically, stacking up these super small base hits and being consistent doing that. But then I wasn't consistent on the losing side. And I was giving it all back and some. And before you know it, the drawdown was 2,000, 1,500, 1,000. And yesterday I had some stuff happen off the desk. My mom is, I guess, everybody knows my mom's in the hospital. I got a phone call in the morning. And I basically, kept myself composed on stream. And as soon as I got off stream and I was by myself, I decided, hey, I'm going to get all this back or I'm going to blow these accounts up. And what did I do? I blew the accounts up, right? And so this has been, I probably learned more about myself in the last month than I have in the last, I don't know, probably ever. I realize more and more, I'm compulsive. I want to compare myself to people. And now doing this live streaming and, being on with Austin and Christina and I live stream 3 days a week has just immensely helped me with that accountability because I'm on the big stage. And if one person follows me on a trade and I took it just for the sake of taking a trade and they say, oh, and I'm like, I lost the trade. And then in the chat, I look and they'd be like, oh, I lost the same trade too. And, those kind of things make me realize, hey, like I got to be true to myself. If not, and somebody follows along, like it hurt me in different ways. And that's not what I want to be like. I've been so transparent with my trading and whether it's sim and these accounts and all this stuff, like no matter how I show it, I try to be as transparent as possible. And I think nobody does that in this industry. Obviously there's we're blessed. Like we have in Zach's part of our circle, we have a very tight circle that is hands down the best people in the industry. And we get to learn and grow with it, with people like Zach and Austin and Tanner and all these guys. And so, yeah, this month has just been like I said, I could just keep rambling on. I've learned so much about myself, and I realized, I can be a good trader and I will be a good trader, but in the process, if I can help somebody, learn from my mistakes and help somebody either just feel good about themselves or not beat themselves up, like I think that pays me more right now than taking a payout on a prop firm. Mm-hmm. So I'm kind of at that point where, I'm just putting out as much as I can to the universe, and people are starting to DM me, and I'm starting to build relationships and talk to people, which is super cool. Mm-hmm. This is something I would never do in my life. I've been, the same group of friends for 25 years. And yeah, so this month has just been my biggest losses I've taken this month, the most I've learned. And, I got to say, I didn't take a trade today on stream. I couldn't even really I didn't see Christine's long present, and that's my trade. And it just made me realize, hey, I don't need to be in every move all the time. Like, it's okay. I can still stream and not take a trade. And yeah, so that was, and here we are having this, I get to be fortunate enough to have conversations like this with you guys, right? So that's kind of my month in a nutshell. I'm getting back to that flow state. I'm slowly getting there, because I was completely out of it.
Well, thanks for sharing, Randy. I think it's always cool when we learn something new about ourselves. I've loved that aspect of trading, and just overall that personal development. And just to kind of wrap up, because I actually got to go catch a boat in a little bit. You seem so consistent, Zach, like very consistent with just the way that you trade. What do you attribute that to? What are you doing to stay consistent that the majority of traders are not doing? Because a lot of people struggle with consistency.
Yes. I think it really probably unfortunately comes from just trial by fire of not being consistent in the past at all. And I'll grain of salt it for everybody. If you watch a lot of my live streaming, because it's been almost a year and a half, you will see changes. You'll see adaptations. It's not always exactly the same, but I really do try to stick to my guns and stay consistent once I shift or adjust something. And I think that comes from the past of constantly changing day in and day out. Like Randy said, something doesn't work. You change your strategy because, well, maybe it worked over here and now I had a couple red days, or I got 2 red weeks, but meanwhile, the market conditions changed a little bit. It's just the market not agreeing with me. I'm changing it. So I was a serial, strategy hopper, always trying to figure out the magic indicator, the magic combinations, this crazy mechanical deal. And it never worked, right? So once I started to, it was a combination, applying some discretion, but really, figuring what I wanted to do and then sticking to that consistently, did I start to grab onto some consistency. So I think it unfortunately just came from experiencing the other side of that. But we really have to look at this paradox that we were talking about earlier and come to the market doing something consistent day in and day out. And if it's not the results that you want over a large sample size, you can continue to adjust. If you apply inconsistency to the market, you're going to have inconsistent results. If you at least apply some consistency, you stand a chance to see what's working, what's not working, because you can go back, review, and then adjust a little bit more of what's working, a little bit less of what's not. But it is very difficult to do, especially if you're on a losing streak, especially if you got a couple of those back-to-back red days. It's really tough to show up and do the same thing day in and day out. And I live stream, right? The way that I trade on ES is a little bit more, in the morning, NNQ, a little bit more mean reverting, a little bit back towards VWAP. So today I got long. Today. I made money. But, and it worked out. But on another day, I get my face ripped off, right? Because it's a trend day, okay? That's okay. I have to recognize, I'm not going to be right every day. So, yeah, it's, what would I attribute that to? I think just losing enough money on the front end, being inconsistent to realize I got to apply some consistency. So, yeah, stick to your guns, stick to the way that you trade. Me and Randy were on stream 2 times. He went short, I went long, or vice versa, whatever it is. You got to do it. That's the only way that you stand to pull some money out of these markets, is being consistent, taking your L's where you're supposed to, taking your wins where you're supposed to, and then adjusting in large sample sizes.
Yeah. You hear it from everyone, this career, it feels, when you're in it, it feels like this is like the only career that you just have to eat shit and like do it until you get better. And like no advice from anyone is just going to like click. And now I'm just never going to do it again. It's like, you literally got to do it and just learn for yourself. But yeah, let's wrap it up there. We're gonna have to definitely get you on again, Zach. I feel we just kind of we just kind of went on and had a great conversation. I feel like whatever I wanted to talk about, I was just going.
No, this was great. This was awesome,
this
guys.
was awesome.
It's therapy. It's therapy. Therapy.
No, this was good because you're all in the middle of it, right? Everybody, recap months, kind of what was going well, what was, was not going so well. So no, this was awesome, guys. I really appreciate you having me on. Thank you. I hope it was a good conversation for anybody listening. Great. If you guys want to check out my trading, not to plug it, I'm live every day here on YouTube, X, Kick, more than happy. No course, no VIP. You can hop in the free Discord, all that fun stuff. And all of you guys, I'm learning from you as well. Like you were saying, we learned from Randy and we learned from, Tanner and Zach and Austin. I think it's so awesome to be in the position that so many of us are in, because we get to see so many different perspectives, right? So Randy, to hear you talk, and Christine, hear you talk, and Thomas, about what's going on, what's going well and not going well, it's so beneficial. So I'll wrap up on this. Stay a student of the game. Never get ahead of yourself. Even when you get some progress rolling, stay a student of the game. Listen to what's going on with other people and try to use that, take from everybody if you can in that way.
Yeah.
Love that. Good advice.
Beautiful. Cheers, everybody. Have a great trading week, and we'll see you next Monday.